Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds kept their watching, or silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. The shepherds feared and trembled when low above the earth rang out the angel chorus that hailed the Savior's birth. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in a lowly manger, the humble Christ was born, and God sent us salvation, that blessed Christmas morn. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountain, everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
Hello and welcome to Kingdom of Context. I'm Sean. I want to thank you for joining us here today. We are here, October 11th, 2025. We're picking up our study into Joshua. We'll be looking at chapters 16 through 18 today, but I want to say Shabbat Shalom, sweetie.
Shabbat shalom, babe.
Thank you for joining me here on our Sabbath study of Joshua. And Shabbat Shalom to everyone that's watching. Hope you're enjoying your Sabbath rest. And we've been going through Joshua because we feel like it's an important aspect of understanding the middle of the Bible.
Yeah.
Many times in the Torah communities, we see people studying the front of the Bible over and over and over every year, which is not a problem, but they don't have we've seen some weird doctrines arise because they don't know the middle of their Bible either.
Right.
Specifically within the Torah community. And for mainstream Christianity and all the mainstream Christian churches, Protestant, Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, they need to study their whole Bible.
Yeah. They need to study everything to the left of Matthew.
Yeah, they just need to study the whole thing. But so yeah, that's why we've been studying these books in our personal lives. We've been going through some of the prophets' books, the major prophets in the middle of the Bible, because we want to be more familiar with some of these concepts. Basically, it's how Israel is either obeying or disobeying God according to the covenant commandments, and what happens as a result.
Right.
When that wisdom of God's not being followed, bad things happen.
Yeah.
Injustice begins to happen. Warfare happens. Famine happens. A whole bunch of chaos starts to happen. And these are the examples and the stories we see throughout the history of Israel, the people, the descendants of Jacob. So we'll pick back up again. Let me see here. Joshua chapter 16. So here is Joshua 16, verse 1. The allotment for the descendants of Joseph extended from the Jordan at Jericho to the waters of Jericho in the east, through the wilderness that goes up from Jericho into the hill country of Bethel. It went on from Bethel, that's Luz, and proceeded to the border of the Archites in Eteroth. Then it descended westward toward the border of the Japhilites, as far as the border of lower Beth-horon, and on to Gezer, and it ended at the sea. So Ephraim and Manasseh, the sons of Joseph, received their inheritance. This was the territory of the descendants of Ephraim by their clans. The border of their inheritance went from Eteroth Adar into the east to upper Beth-horon and out toward the sea. From Mikmethat on the north, it turned eastward toward Tanath Shiloh and passed by it to Genoa on the east. From Genoa, it went down to Eteroth and Nera, and then reached Jericho and came out at the Jordan. From the Tapua, the border went westward to the brook of Cana and ended at the sea. This was the inheritance of the clans of the tribe of Ephraim, along with all the cities and the villages set apart for the descendants of Ephraim within the inheritance of Manasseh. But they did not drive out the Canaanites who lived in Gezer, so the Canaanites dwelt among the Ephraimites to this day. But they are forced laborers.
Interesting.
Okay, so another spot here where it has to give a little note saying, by the way,
Yeah.
there's some Canaanites still here in this territory, because we read last week about Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gezer, all the way up to Tyre and Sidon, where there were still on the coastline.
Yeah.
There were still lots of Canaanites dwelling in the land. And here we have in the borders of Manasseh, so above Jericho, along the Jordan, there's still more Canaanites there. So
Yeah.
it makes you wonder why they didn't drive them out.
Yeah. And then why not make the effort to drive them out, but make the effort to turn them into forced laborers?
Yeah.
Like,
did they strike a covenant? Did they showed them mercy, right?
I mean, that would seem like they went against what the clear command was. And, you know, there are those times where Yahweh has to say, show no mercy.
Right.
And I think, you know, this is an example of when he needs to use that caveat, because he knows sometimes the inclinations of our heart that seem good are going against his ways, because I would think that they did this because they didn't have it in them to show no mercy.
Right.
So maybe they struck some kind of deal instead, had the Canaanites sell themselves to them or something.
Yeah, well, forced laborers doesn't sound like selling yourself.
Yeah.
But you know, so that means now, are these people, you know, how far, what does it mean by forced laborers?
Yeah.
How far does it go before it's now violating Deuteronomy 24/7, where
Right.
they're essentially kidnapping someone
Right.
From their own sense of liberty and self-governance,
Or oppressing the foreigner
and
within
now
their borders.
now they're got a forced labor.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the Canaanites, I mean, did they offer, like Rahab, did they offer to join and proclaim Yahweh as their God? And if not, they're forced laborers. So then now they're breaking the Torah by, for one, not removing them from the land,
Yeah.
and two, forcing them into labor by keeping them and not driving them out. But so, I mean, that's because it's definitely not a contract if you're forcing labor.
Yeah.
It's not a contract between two parties.
It's not, it's definitely not an equal
It
agreement.
It is oppressing the foreigner.
Yes, even the foreigner that was supposed to be driven out because they're there illegally. Yeah. That's interesting. I never noticed that the last one or two times I read Joshua.
Yeah, that's interesting. So just but it's, to me, according to the rest of the Torah, it seems to be a clear violation. So even though there's not the commentary of, oh, by the way, the Manassites or the Ephraimites sinned against the Lord in doing this. It doesn't like specifically state those words like it does other places.
Right.
It's just almost like it assumes you need to know the Torah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need to know what was previously established, and they're not doing it right.
Yeah. If you know the Torah, you don't necessarily need each individual author to point out to you when someone's in sin going against the covenant.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. Anything else in this chapter?
No.
Me neither.
Seemed like you did really well with the names in this one.
Well, there's our
Tame.
This was child's play compared to last week. All right, chapter 17, Manasseh's Western Inheritance. Now, this was the allotment for the tribe of Manasseh at Joseph's firstborn son, namely from Machir, the son of Manasseh, and father of the Gileadites, who had received Gilead and Bashan because Machir was a man of war. So this allotment was for the rest of the descendants of Manasseh, the clans of Abiezer, Helek, Azrael, Shechem, Hefer, and Shemitah. These are the other male descendants of the clans of Manasseh, son of Joseph. But Zelophehad, son of Hefer, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, had no sons but only daughters. These are the names of his daughters. So basically, you have to be a daughter-only family before the women get included in these genealogies. But it's because of the inheritance. It's because of the land inheritance.
I'm not offended by it.
And I believe this is what Numbers. Is it? I can't remember. Leviticus 25 or something like that. Hang on a second. Let me just turn off my phone.
Yeah, let the potential spammers rest on Shabbat today.
So many. Yeah, that's interesting. So verse 4, they approached Eleazar, priest, Joshua, son of Nun, and the leaders, and said, the Lord commanded Moses to give us inheritance among our brothers. So Joshua gave them an inheritance among their father's brothers, in keeping with the command of the Lord. Thus 10 shares fell to Manasseh, in addition to the land of Gilead and Bashan beyond the Jordan, because the daughters of Manasseh received an inheritance among his sons. And the land of Gilead belonged to the rest of the sons of Manasseh. Now that is cross-referenced in Leviticus, I believe. I think it's chapter 25.
Okay.
So it's not. This isn't new information in Joshua, because what's his name? Yeah, it is. Eleazar should still be alive here, I believe. Yeah, but it's not new information. This is actually from like 40 years earlier.
Yeah.
So verse 7, now the border of Manasseh went from Asher to Mikmethat near Shechem, and then southward to include the inhabitants of En Tappuah. The region of Tappuah belonged to Manasseh, but Tappuah itself on the border of Manasseh belonged to Ephraim. From there, the border continued southward to the brook of Kanah. There were cities belonging to Ephraim along the cities of Manasseh, but the border of Manasseh was on the north side of the brook and ended at the sea. Ephraim's territory was to the south, and Manasseh's was to the north, having the sea as its border and adjoining Asher on the north and Issachar on the east. With Issachar and Asher, Manasseh was assigned Beth Shean, Ibleam, Dor, that's Nephat, and Endor, Tanakh, and Megiddo, each with their surrounding settlements. But the descendants of Manasseh were unable to occupy these cities because the Canaanites were determined to stay in this land. However, when the Israelites grew stronger, they put the Canaanites to forced labor, but they failed to drive them out completely. I don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
So guys, if you have any insight, anyone listening today, if you have any insight into this concept of not being able to drive them out, but being able to subjugate them into forced labor, I'd be interested to hear an explanation for this.
Yeah, someone mentioned how the KJV words it as the Canaanites served under tribute. Maybe they pay to live there. But we could take a look at the Septuagint real quick, I guess, just to see.
But why would you need to give tribute if they can't drive you out?
Either way, whether it's some kind of forced labor or some kind of tribute to stay, like a tax on them. Why are you strong enough to do that? To force them to do one of those two things, but not to force them out of the land like you were commanded to. Like that's definitely they made the Canaanite subject, but they're not. Yeah, so
I don't understand.
So they're clearly subjugating them. They're ruling over them in some sort of way.
But failing to drive them out.
Yeah.
Maybe the failing to drive them out is not that they didn't have the power to do so. They just didn't have the will to do so.
That's what I was saying about, maybe they couldn't overcome the unrighteous mercy in their heart. I mean, could there be an unrighteous form of mercy? I suppose there can.
They're what the term from the 90s would be, they're crying liberals.
Bleeding heart.
Yeah.
That's what I was. I was a bleeding heart liberal.
Yeah. They're not,
but yeah,
they're not they're strong, but not strong enough to follow all the commandments of God, which is to drive them out of this land. That's interesting. So essentially it's like an unofficial pact they made with these people. So then the sons of Joseph said to Joshua, why have you given us only one portion as inheritance? Why have many people? Because we have many people, because the Lord has blessed us abundantly. Joshua answered them, if you have so many people that the hill country of Ephraim is too small for you, go to the forest and clear for yourself an area in the land of the Pezerites and the Rephaim. I don't know where that forest is today. It's not there. The hill country is not enough for us, they replied. and all the Canaanites who live in the valley of iron chariots, both in Bethshean with its towns and in the valley of Jezreel. So Joshua said to the house of Joseph, to Ephraim and Manasseh, you have many people and great strength. You shall not have just one allotment, because the hill country will be yours as well. It is a forest, clear it, and its furthest limits will be yours. Although the Canaanites have iron chariots, and although they are strong, you can drive them out.
So he's confirming for us right there. These people had the ability to drive them out. Interesting. I kind of never really considered the perspective of an unrighteous form of mercy, but now that we're talking about it, I'm like, all these things are popping in my head about modern people.
You mean letting people flood into your borders to the point where it's destroying your economy?
Yeah.
And destroying the people
Yes.
that do pay into your economy and that work here
Yeah.
legally?
Also, giving light sentences to child predators.
Yes.
You know?
Letting murderers out after 7 years.
Yes.
Putting murderers in jail instead of killing them.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, all that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Putting
pedos
into jail,
and rapists in jail instead of murdering,
executing
instead
them.
of
Yeah.
executing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the shelter industry with all of the dogs that have attacked people.
Yeah.
That people just can't bring themselves to humanely euthanize the dogs, so they keep them locked up in, cement boxes all day.
Whereas
Instead.
Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, his wisdom says, if an oxen
Yes.
gores someone to death, you kill that oxen.
Yeah.
If your pit bull mauls someone to death, you kill that pit bull.
Dog. Yeah. And we can humanely do it these days. Like, you don't even have to take them out back with a shotgun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's unrighteous mercy. That's a concept I hadn't really formulated with words until today.
So I know this sounds weird, but like the thing that's most fascinating to me here is like there was forests here.
Yeah.
So there's historians that speculate that ancient Egypt, where Cairo, where the Giza Plateau with the 3 pyramids.
Yeah.
A lot of people suggested that used to be ancient forest as well, but the desertification happened over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then in other places like this, the people just happened.
Right.
It became like modern day Afghanistan, where they cut all the trees down and then didn't plant anymore.
Yeah.
And now it's just
Yeah.
worthless land. But we still go over there for our military for some reason. But basically, I wondered if this is the same thing that happened in like the whole region of Saudi Arabia. Like if you look at all of the big landmass of Saudi Arabia today,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just 99%
Desert.
wilderness, barren desert. It just makes me wonder, clearly Saudi Arabia is trying to revitalize it with the cities they're building,
Mm-hmm.
not just Riyadh, but also Mecca and some other places. And they're building roads and highways and things, but it makes you wonder for how long has it been like that? Right.
Yeah.
Because, in the late 1800s, Palestine, even to the point of where Jerusalem is today, it was desertification. It was just like, it wasn't a green place to live. Let's put it like this.
Yeah. I think the term they taught us in 90s elementary school was deforestation, where you literally deforest a place.
Yeah. And they're
would be
complaining about the Amazon being done right now.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting thought here, because that means that when Moses is saying, oh, I'm looking from Mount Nebo into this land before he dies, and he says, oh, it's a good land.
Yeah.
It's because he's probably looking at a good, fertile green land, and not what you see there today, where they're having to go through great efforts to make it fertile and pump in all kinds of new irrigation, every kind of thing. So it makes you wonder if there was ever any discussion. You remember, I can't remember the specific chapter, because it's kind of a really deep cut. I think it's in like, I don't know. I think it's in like Leviticus 20, maybe. No, Leviticus like 22 or something, where it's talking about if you go and you're battling war, like don't cut the trees down because you're going to need them. Right.
Yeah. I do recall.
Yeah.
A verse along those lines.
Yeah. It's serious. Yahweh was like, do not cut all the trees down because you're going to need them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what happened here? Like, it makes you wonder, you know what I mean? It just makes you wonder. Because Josh was saying, clear the forest.
Yeah. And I would think that they had the knowledge back then of how to plant. They know how to plant stuff from a seed.
Right.
They know, so they would know how to replant trees. Although trees are a whole different creation, obviously, than other plants that grow much faster.
Yeah.
But still, it doesn't seem like there was much of an EPA back then.
Now, of course, this is long, long before this whole territory was invaded by the Assyrians
Right.
and Nebuchadnezzar's army, who
Yes.
was historically known for throwing salt on the land so that
Mhm.
nothing would grow there afterwards. So it's
Yeah.
something to consider.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll go on to 18. Interesting. I don't see anyone in the live chat offering a verse, but I think people know what I mean. Chapter 18. Verse 1, the whole congregation of Israel assembled at Shiloh and set up the tent of meeting there. Though the land was subdued before them, there were still 7 tribes of Israel who had not yet received their inheritance. So Joshua said to the Israelites, how long will you put off entering and possessing the land that the Lord, the God of your fathers, has given you? Appoint 3 men from each tribe, and I will send them out to survey the land and map it out according to the inheritance of each. Then they will return to me and divide the land into 7 portions. Judah shall remain in their territory in the south, and the house of Joseph shall remain in their territory in the north. And when you have mapped out the 7 portions of land and brought it to me, I will cast lots for you here in the presence of the Lord our God. The Levites, however, have no portion among you, because their inheritance is the priesthood of the Lord. And Gad, Reuben, and the half-tribe of Manasseh have already received the inheritance that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave them beyond the Jordan to the east. As the men got up to go out, Joshua commanded them to map out the land, saying, go and survey the land, map it out and return to me, and then I will cast lots for you here in Shiloh in the presence of Yahweh. So the men departed and went throughout the land, mapping it city by city into 7 portions. Then they returned with the document to Joshua at the camp in Shiloh. And Joshua cast lots for them in the presence of Yahweh at Shiloh, where he distributed the land to the Israelites according to their divisions. 11. The first lot came up for the clans of the tribe of Benjamin. Their allotted territory lay between the tribes of Judah and Joseph. On the north side, their border began at the Jordan, went up past the northern slope of Jericho, headed west through the hill country, and came out at the wilderness of Beth-aven. From there, the border crossed over to the southern slope of Luz, that's Bethel, and went down to Adarat Adar on the hillside of lower Beth Horon. On the west side of the border, curved southward from the hill facing Beth Horon on the south, and came out at Kiriath Bel, that's Kiriath Jearim, a city of the sons of Judah. This was the western side. On the south side, the border began at the outskirts of Kiriath Jearim and extended westward to the spring at the waters of Nephtoah. Then it went down into the foot of the hill that faces the valley of Ben Hinnom, at the northern end of the valley of Rephaim, and ran down the valley of Hinnom toward the southern slope of the Jebusites and downward toward En-Rogel. From there, it curved northward and proceeded to En-Shemesh and onto Geliloth, facing the ascent of Adumim, and continued down to the stone of Bohan, son of Reuben. Now it went on to the northern slope of Beth Arabah and went down into the valley. The border continued to the north slope of Beth Hagla and came out at the northern bay of the Salt Sea at the mouth of the Jordan. This was the southern border. On the east side, the border was the Jordan. These were the borders around the inheritance of the clans of the tribe of Benjamin. These were the cities of the clans of the tribe of Benjamin: Jericho, Beth Hagla, Emet Keziz, Beth Arabah, Zemaraim, Bethel, Avim, Parah, Oprah, Chepar Ammoni, Ophni, Geba, 12 cities along with its villages. Gibeon, Ramah, Beerot, Mizpah, Chepirah, Moza, Rekim, Erpil.
Or
All right.
RPL. maybe.
RPL. It's way too close to Urkel. Terala, Zela, Helef, Jebus. That's Jerusalem. Gibeah and Kiriath Jearim, 14 cities along with their villages. This was the inheritance of the clans of the tribe of Benjamin.
That's interesting that Jerusalem was also called Jebus, because would that mean that it was Jebusites mainly living there?
Mhm.
I mean, they're part of the list of the ites. Interesting.
All right. So that's 18.
Okay.
Not much stuck out to me in this except for as we talked about, I think last week or the week before, here, they did decide this just by casting lots in the presence of Yahweh. I'm wondering if this is the same process of casting lots that the disciples did in Acts chapter 1.
Yeah.
I would assume so. But we don't even told exactly what that looks like.
Right.
So it's like kind of almost like rolling some kind of dice.
I think it was some sort of coins. I thought I saw someone mention one time that was actual like coins that were called lots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
So
don't
what?
know.
Like they flipped a coin?
It sounds like it. I'm
They
sure we
spun a
could.
coin, and which side it landed
I'm
on?
sure. I'll bet you anything. If we Googled it, there's probably been a ton of commentaries explaining what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like a common practice throughout lots of cultures. So there's got to be some sort of historical recording out there.
Another thing that stuck out to me was verse 2, still 7 tribes of Israel who had not yet received their inheritance. And then Joshua has to say, how long will you put off
Mhm.
entering the land? So where are these massive amounts of people hanging out?
Yeah.
Are they hanging out? They're clearly hanging out in somebody else's territory,
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. They'd have to be.
Because they're not going into the territory. Are they still hanging out in that area of Gilgal outside of Jericho? Like, where are these people hanging out this whole time?
It's a good question. And it's honestly, it's an aspect of their disobedience I never really
Their fear.
noticed before, never really thought about. Yeah, and certainly it's not like there's any sermons on Sundays or anything about this aspect of the story. This is definitely
Yeah, the last
an
chapter,
interesting
Joshua
detail.
has to tell the Ephraimites, you can overcome these guys.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah,
Right.
you have the
But
power.
5 chapters earlier in 12 and 13, like we read about all the different people that Joshua had already conquered on their behalf.
Yeah,
But there's like these small amounts of leftovers that the average person and their tribal leaders are afraid to go in
yeah,
and drive out. And for some reason, Joshua is not just saying, okay, I'll do it.
mm-hmm.
Right. He's like, no, you need to do this.
Yeah,
So it's this weird, how do I say this? It's almost as if, and it's not stated in the text. So this is clearly a guess. This is speculation. But since it's not stated in the text, it just makes you wonder if the other elders and Joshua and the military men, like they're like, if we just babysit these people, kill all the people in the land and just walk them in, they won't defend it later.
right.
They need to go take it
Yes.
themselves at some point.
Yeah,
But they didn't do that for everybody. So it makes you wonder if like they already kind of evaluated the people, but after being with them for 40 years and
yeah,
going, these people need to do it themselves. These don't. We have no problem believing they'll defend it. They're the strongest in the military already.
right.
But these people, they're always like falling to the back of the line in the military, not trying to be in the battle.
Yeah,
Like these people need to learn what it means to do the hard work at times. I'm just guessing, clearly. I'm just speculating,
Yeah.
but it's hard for me to understand this context of where these people hanging out. They're hanging out to the point where Joshua's like, how long are you going to put off entering and possessing the land that you've
Yeah.
been given?
yeah,
He says it's been given to you. Go get it.
yeah,
God's with you. Go
yeah.
get it. So it is a fear and lack of faith.
Yeah.
It is a, without faith it's impossible to please the Lord. Like Hebrews talks about, we're not to be consumed with fear. So this is one of those moments where life, what God has asked them to do in this life is not easy.
Right. Absolutely.
They just need the faith to do it.
Yeah.
This is all of their David and Goliath moments, and they're just not doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it didn't require much on David's parts to kill Goliath. He needed one stone.
Yeah. He
You know what I
just
mean?
had to step out in that faith.
And
It's hard because, like I got made fun of for last week, but like I think about myself and could I do this? Me, I could see myself being too afraid. Of course I'm a female, so
Yeah,
I wouldn't be in that
yeah,
position
yeah.
anyways. But I mean, even at that time, like when this was like, it seems like it was a normal part of a lot of men's lives to be part of this concept of being in military like this. I mean, it's a little different from what it looks like for us today, military wise, but that seemed like a very normal part of life back then. And they knew for how many generations that they were going to be going in to do this as well. So on top of it being kind of the norm, they also have all these promises from God about going and doing this.
That's
So
right.
I struggle, I tend to be so harsh in my judgment about the Israelites, but also like I'm a human too. And so I have to remember there's a lot of times I didn't want to have a baby for how long because I was afraid, like I was not operating in faith with that.
And during your 48 hours of labor, what was going through your mind? Did you feel a strength from God to keep going?
Oh, I suppose. Yeah, I don't think that was on the forefront of my mind. But
I was willing to take you to the hospital long before you were.
really,
Yeah.
were you? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, I wasn't trying to say anything. I'm trying to be the supportive one. We're
Yeah.
listening to the midwife, or you know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, you seem to have like a little bit of a courage in that moment to keep doing it without the drugs, natural, at
Yeah,
our home,
I suppose that
clear
came
complications,
from the Lord. Yeah.
you know? And and then even when like day 2 was rolling around, you were still not, you know, the doctors had to come in and convince you to do the C-section because you still didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
It was becoming a health concern for you and the baby.
hmm
But I was already gassed out, and I'm not even giving labor. Like I could barely stay awake, and I'm not even giving labor. So clearly, I felt like you were doing really well, right?
Oh, thank
You
you.
didn't seem your behavior during that 48 hours did not match your fear leading in the years leading up to it.
No, I definitely was not in any fear during all of that. I mean, even on my way into the operating room, I wasn't feeling fear. So I guess the Lord was with me. I was trusting him. But I, you know, I don't know if I've told this story on the channel before, but for a long time I thought I didn't want to have children. And a big part of that of my reasoning was like all the fear-based ideas of this world is so wicked and the end is coming soon and vaccines and shutdowns and World War III and you know all of the things. And Sean said to me one day when I was talking to him about, you know, why would we really want to bring a child into this world with all this stuff going on? And Sean said to me, we don't make decisions based in fear, sweetie. And that like unlocked something in my brain. I guess I needed to hear that from my hubby. And I think that was like really when God started to work on my heart because it wasn't immediately, obviously. It was still another year or two, I think, before I decided I wasn't going to live in fear anymore. But yeah, that definitely was a huge step of faith for me, you know, going my whole life thinking I'd never have children.
Yeah, there is clearly different personalities that are within the Israelites, and Joshua as a commanding leader of an army, you have to know who's your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
So, you know, my personality is more like it's more like the Kobe Bryant meme. I don't know if you remember, if you've ever seen this one, where he's several years ago during one of the NBA championships, like they were up like 3-1 or something like that, and the reporters asking Kobe, you know, how you feeling, you know, about potentially winning the victory? And Kobe's like, job's not done. Is the job done? Job's not done. Just because they were about to win, they set a whole nother game,
Yeah.
and potentially they would add a whole nother set of games to lose.
Yeah.
Not just, you know, so they hadn't won yet. And so that's the feeling that's what goes through my head when I read these chapters. Is I hear Kobe Bryant saying, job's not done. Is
Yeah.
job done? Job's not done. And that's the mentality that I think a lot of these people forgot that Joshua could be drawing out of them is, hey, job's not done.
Yeah.
And they're just happy wherever they're hanging out.
Yeah.
They've already kind of settled in, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because again, the question we had from previous weeks was, how long did it take Joshua to overcome those 31 kings? Was it a whole year of warfare? Is he already what?
No, I just need to adjust. He's moved, so I can't quite see where his. Okay. I wanted to see how his head was turned. All right.
So if it did take him a whole year to defeat those 31 kings, that means these people are settling in.
Yeah.
Where they're waiting
Yes.
for this land to be opened up for them.
Yeah.
And now he's got to get them back out of a lethargic, lazy kind of feeling of, all right, job's not done. We're still doing this. Job's not done. Like this, as we talked about before we made this covenant renewal back in chapter 5 on the other side of the Jordan, when I shouted to you, this the commandments of the Lord, this is the land we got to take. There was no timeline given for them for the expectation of the people. But
Right.
I think it probably would have been helpful to the people to shout to them, we may be doing this for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Like, we may be clearing this land for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
There is no guarantee. Yahweh has not given us a specific end date to when this is going to be over or when we should have accomplished all this. He just tells us to do it. So if it's not done, we need to keep doing it. You know what I mean? But as we see, these clans that are left in this land, they're called a thorn in the side of Israel later
Right.
because they're there to constantly tempt them,
Yeah.
steal their progress and their covenant with Yahweh and their blessing, and take them back into the destitution that comes with Baal worship.
Yeah.
And so it is a unique paradigm of dealing with just human behaviors, personalities.
Yeah.
Of Joshua being like, hey guys, you can do this. You can take, come on, you can take out this little clan.
Yeah.
I just took out 31 kings. Some of them were giants. You can take out this little clan, Ephraim.
It's so interesting because it does come down to personality types. Like I've been thinking a lot lately about the personality types that are drawn to detective work, like specifically the type of detectives who work on murder cases. Like I'm a huge true crime person, like specific true crime. I don't like
you and 50 million other women.
Yeah, well, I don't like any unsolved stories. I like to watch the process of justice be completed. And I don't like any this doesn't matter to any of you out there, I'm sure, but I'm not into like the reenactment shows. I like things like Dateline and 48 Hours, like investigative journalism type. But in all those, you see the interviews of the detectives talking about these cases that they work on. And some of these cases, are like 20, 30-year endeavors, that they never forgot about that one cold case. They never forgot about that one victim, like they have this. And I always feel this sense of appreciation that there are people like that in this world because I'm not one of them. I am not a person that could go walk through a horrific crime scene, gather all the evidence, go interview all the people, track down all the leads. Like the men that I saw working on my brother's case, like I saw firsthand, like how they dedicated a very personal part of themselves into it. And it was like a different level than just your average beat cop on the street. So, and it just made me appreciative of the fact that there are people in this world clearly who their personalities are. I'm grateful for people who work in mortuaries.
Yeah.
People who work with dead bodies, people who
embalmers of the bomb.
Yes, who respect people's loved ones and put them on for calling hours, all that kind of stuff. Like there are so many parts of other people's personalities that I look and I think, gosh, I could never do that. And does that make me a bad person? No, maybe not. Maybe I'm just not. And maybe God didn't put that in my heart to do those kinds of things. But on a regular basis, I feel this appreciation for people in jobs like that I can't imagine doing. I can't imagine being finding joy in those kinds of jobs and things like that. Yeah, it's interesting, but it has me thinking here how you're talking about how Joshua will need to be evaluating these personalities and also why, we see so few men who rise up out of the Israelites to be these men of stature and great bravery, because I guess not a lot have it.
There's a lot of Sams from Cheers and not a lot of Samsons.
Cheers was a little before my time.
Yeah,
maybe.
he was the bartender. Yeah.
Oh, Ted Danson?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was the bartender at Cheers. Anyway, so we need more Samsons is the story. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it's a unique paradigm I think Joshua's dealing with as a leader of all these people. And he's what, 85? Is that what we read last time? He was 85.
Had to be, yeah, in his 80s.
I don't remember his age when he dies. Like, I think we'll probably get there, but it's just interesting to me of like the ongoing, motivation. It reminds me when I used to do Taekwondo, my grandmaster, he would come along. I mean, the guy's was more fit than I was. I was like, 20 years old, but this guy was ridiculously fit, and he's like in his late 50s.
Yeah.
And he had this bamboo stick that he wrapped with tape and 3 spots on it. And he would come by and he would hit me in the back of the shins or the back of the calves and the ankles during our drills. So like, I'm already moving fast. I was very fast. So I was already moving fast, right, when we're doing our drills. And he would hit me with that cane and say, Bali, 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 and just say faster, faster, faster. And he didn't do that to everybody. He just did it to those who he knew could do more.
Yeah.
I was already like one of the fastest people in the whole class, but he was like, you can do more.
Yeah.
And he would just hit me with that thing. And the first few times I was insulted by it, because I'm like, I'm the fastest person in this class.
I'm good enough.
I can do this.
Yeah.
But he was like, no, you can do much faster.
Better.
And so one night we're doing a drill, and I know this is going to sound a little bit strange, but I'm just to give you some scope here. One night we're doing a drill, and it was a four punch combo type of drill, and he stopped the class and he had me do it, and he's like, this is fast, and I was like, okay. I didn't know, and I mean, but I didn't realize like he would pull me up in front of the people and do the demonstration of the technique on me,
Yeah.
kicking and punching me, because it was an honor,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Because
for you.
Well, it was supposed to be an honor.
Yeah.
That he would use you as the
Didn't
dummy.
feel like it, but
Didn't always feel like it, but especially when he wanted me to hold the grape in my mouth so he could kick it out of my mouth. He's like, you do not move. So he was just like 5'7" Korean guy that was built like a tank.
Yeah.
And could do the splits in every direction. And he was just martial arts was his life.
Yeah.
So he was an amazing grandmaster. But so anyway,
sounds like an effective teacher.
Yeah, he was great. I'll never forget him. So he basically he was evaluating everybody in class at all times.
Yeah.
Who's good, who's great, who can do more, who's not doing enough, what's going on. He actually removed one of the black belts that had been there for like 10 years because that guy developed a bad attitude and was a negative influence on the kids. And he decided, you are not a good leader.
Wow.
And the guy gave him lip instead of being humble.
Instead of submitting and saying, yes, sir.
Instead of humbling himself.
You're right,
and so he
on
removed him from the dojang and told him he couldn't come back.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, like, growing up watching Karate Kid, where Cobra Kai is like encouraging the bad behavior, the misuse of what you're being taught.
Yeah.
Here was an actual good grandmaster that was caring for his flock and evaluating them on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he was a great guy. And that's just obviously in a suburban style setting of martial arts within a modern American city. This is ancient Israel, where Joshua, though, is having to do the same type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting perspective of true leadership in all regards, right? Because David had to discern who was going to be his mighty men, right? Who was going to be that 30 plus group of men that was dedicated to being his bodyguards and his main warriors.
Yeah.
But yet there was an entire army of warriors.
Right.
So it's a couple interesting chapters here. I'm trying to divide up this land, and 7 entire tribes do not have the courage after Joshua's already won all the main battles.
Yeah, I
7
mean,
entire
the Lord
tribes
has sent in the hornets on multiple occasions at this point. Like the Lord has driven, the Lord has done a bulk of the work, and then Joshua came in and did another bulk of the work. So yeah, it is frustrating to see that they've even been given a bit of a hand up here, but they don't take it.
Yeah, it's wild. Well, that's all the reading for today.
Right.
So if anyone has any questions, we're going to put them in caps in the live chat so we can see them easily, as well as the moderators.
I think that might be a record for the fastest time we've gotten through our reading / commentary.
The chapters were not very lengthy.
Yeah, they didn't give us much to work with, which is okay. And I realized I took my ring off to put Levi's lotion on, and I'm like, I feel naked. I don't want my ring. We didn't have a fight or anything right before the show, guys. I just
is that what people do?
Back on. I don't know. You know how people read into things. Sean just always forgets to put his back on. He has multiple rings because he's always losing them. And thankfully, I'm not one of those women who cares about one specific ring. So there's like multiple different wedding rings I find of his around the house. I always gotta go find them. And
well, with Levi, I'm constantly taking it off because I'm constantly cleaning up some kind of something where I have to then wash my hands. And so I take it off to wash my hands.
I guess I've just got the muscle memory of putting it back on now. But
thank you, Juan. I appreciate the generosity, man.
Thanks,
appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much, brother. Thanks for your support.
I did see one question. Oh, there it is. I guess they put it in again. Okay.
Lisa's asking question 1828 says Benjamin had Jebus, which is Jerusalem, but in 15:8 it sounded like Judah's border included the south side of Jebusite. Yes, good catch. Yes, I was actually thinking of this when we were reading it, but forgot about it later. So thanks for the reminder, Lisa. Yes, if you look on the maps, Jerusalem is like basically almost split. It's like Jerusalem is touching both Benjamin and Judah together. It's almost split. So it's like the western portion of Jerusalem was a part of what the western portion of Greater Jerusalem was a part of Benjamin, and the rest of it was a part of Judah. So yeah, it's an interesting concept. Which is also why, well, it's not why, but it's because remember that one of the towns that it mentioned was Ramah.
Yeah.
So remember when Christ was born, it says this fulfilled that when what's his name? Herod went out to try to kill all the Hebrew babies to find the Christ.
Yeah.
Right. And it says there was great weeping in Ramah, and this was fulfilled the prophecy in Jeremiah that there'll be great weeping in Ramah.
Yeah.
The daughters of Rachel will be great weeping because of all the women that lost their babies because they were trying to find the Christ.
Yeah.
And so this is Ramah is just like a little suburb, like 20 minutes away from Jerusalem or 30 minutes away. So it was Jerusalem and the surrounding towns, which bled into the territory of Benjamin, which is a reference to Rachel. So that's why the Jeremiah prophecy mentions there's weeping in Rachel, mourning in Rachel, things like that. And there's weeping in Ramah. And that was a prophecy about what, or at least I think it's Matthew or Luke says this is the fulfillment of that prophecy from Jeremiah when all these babies were slaughtered because of Jesus being born.
Interesting.
So yeah. So yes, those two clans, they kind of shared Jerusalem in a way. Should read that one.
Yeah.
All right. Funny. Curious is asking, is bearing false witness referring to legal testimony only or including lying as well? It includes both. It is lying. It can be in a legal setting where there needs to be testimony according to judges. Yes, it applies there as well. So it includes both. So
I would say that bearing false witness would be like a more pointed form of lying, like a more specific category of lying. And because the witness part,
I think if you look up in Leviticus 19:11 where it says do not lie to one another, I think one of the alternate definitions for lying for that word is bearing false witness, according to lexicon. I'm going off memory, but you're welcome to test it out. But yeah, it's the same, one and the same.
I haven't seen any other questions so far today. Usually they're loading them up. Hope everyone's having a good Sukkot if you're keeping it this week.
Yeah, we're keeping Sukkot.
Yeah.
We've got our tent set up in the backyard.
Yeah, for the first time. How long have we been together? 8 years. So we've done 8 Sukkots together. This will be our 8th.
This is our 8th, yeah.
So for the first time in 8 years, Sean and I were able to get an actual little sukkah kit.
Yeah.
For years, we've had this like shade tent thing. It's not even an actual tent. Like it's one of those canopies that just gives you shade, which worked fine for all intents and purposes. But living in a windy place, that thing
every night it would blow.
Yeah, it just be blowing all through our yard, and the walls weren't very sturdy in terms of like hanging decorations, and
we had to pick them up every morning.
So we finally got one of those like actual little white, box shaped sukkah kits. So that was fun. Except it didn't come with a roof, so I had to order stuff for the roof separately.
The pictures.
The pictures showed it with a little thatch roof.
Yeah.
So it gets here Tuesday. Tuesday evening, we're going to do Sukkot. I'm like, I don't have my roof. And the roof still hasn't gotten here. So I still haven't been able to like do my full decorating, which has been frustrating, but problems of luxury, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, we always encourage folks to learn about the feasts of God and abide in them as much as it applies to you, as much as you can. As a memorial, right? We understand that these are practices that we practice as a memorial. That just like Christ talks about in Luke 22, the fulfillment of Passover will be when the kingdom comes. The fulfillment of Shavuot and Sukkot will be when the kingdom comes. Right. So right now we abide in memorial and practice as best we can. As a result of that, you have modern commandment keepers that are trying to do that. They do create their own traditions that are different from the ancient Israelites.
Yes.
Just because you can't do the same things,
Yeah.
right? Physically, literally.
Yeah.
So the modern tradition in many Torah communities is to go and camp in the woods together.
Mhm.
Many people set up their own nylon tents with little metal aluminum poles, right?
Yeah.
None of that stuff existed 3,800 years ago.
Yeah.
So I guess want to offer a loving reminder to everyone that is keeping the commandment of God to do Sukkot this year, that you're still, no one is in Jerusalem keeping Sukkot right now. That's modern American commandment keepers. There is no standing temple with a legitimate priesthood that God recognizes
Mhm.
As a point of authority that you can go and camp outside and around. So everyone is abiding in Sukkot according to their own traditions, and it doesn't look the same across the plane of the earth. There's so many different millions upon millions of commandment keepers abiding in Sukkot right now, and it doesn't look the same for everybody. So just keep that in mind, that you are abiding in a tradition that you are making in the present real time, and it doesn't mean you're condemned for it. It's not bad. You're still trying to keep Passover or Sukkot the best you can with what you have. So you're doing your best to observe it in your heart and as physically as best you can as well. But just remember that, because other Christians throughout the world have created other traditions pertaining to other things mentioned in Scripture. And those traditions are not commanded by the Bible,
Right.
but yet they're still keeping them as a tradition because it is what their community of Christians decided that they wanted, that they liked and wanted to remember and memorialize. So it's just something to keep in mind. Okay. So
Traditions in and of themselves are not
it's not always
evil.
bad.
It's traditions that cause you to break commandments that are a problem.
Right. But then
So-
there are traditions that do not conflict with commandments. They're just additional memorials that people wanted to do as a part of their faith. And that's replete within the Tawhid Oriental Orthodox, within the Eastern Orthodox, within the Russian Orthodox, within the Catholics, and within
Even
the Assyrians,
even
the
within Judaism,
Armenians.
Hanukkah and Purim
Yep,
are
Hanukkah and
man-made holidays that were
Yep.
not commanded to be made, but they were never condemned for making them.
Yeah.
Even the 4 annual fasts are man-made holidays. Now
Right.
they're more like somber days. They're fasting in like mourning of what happened to the temple, but those are added holidays. Those are added traditions that they're never condemned for. There's also the family we see in Jeremiah, the men that have a certain tradition passed down from their fathers not to drink any alcohol.
Right.
And they're seen as righteous for having that tradition, even though it's not commanded.
That's
So
right.
yeah, I mean,
and there was an expectation to drink wine at Passover.
yes. And even the sukkah that we have out in our yard right now, that's probably a more Judaism tradition, because I don't know that when they went to Jerusalem that's what the
highly doubt it.
booths looked like that they dwelt in. That is our seat or a tradition from Judaism.
Because we don't know if it was
fringe on
fringe in the
fringe
corners
on everything or
and like this type of edge.
Yeah.
Which is the edge of your clothing.
I think it was probably fringe on the 4 openings of your clothing.
Right. Which
But
I would, if anyone's a seamstress out there, I have an idea for you. I'd love to create some where you can like sew it into your shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it'd be beautiful. A little white and blue, you sew in a little line in your shirt. But yeah,
there's all kinds of traditions that Torah people are doing every day. So we should just be very careful to not be hypocritical when we condemn other people's traditions. Just something to think about. By the way, someone asked if we could cut our own branches and make our own roof. No, the trees in our yard are not big enough.
And they're not ours.
We're in a
rent
rental.
This place. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not. And I bought faux palm leaves. So I have leaves for my roof. I want to do the tradition. I want to, I was really like rededicating myself to being festive this year, because last year and the year before with pregnancy and then first year of motherhood, it just didn't work out in terms of me having that motivation to like be festive. And like, I've been so festive this year. And so I have leaves for the top, but I need the thatched roof to put them into. So yeah, I just got to wait till it gets here. I mean, I'll have a few days of a fully decorated sukkah. So
Curious is asking, why would Hezekiah want 50 more years and not be gathered to his fathers? I'm not sure, man. I know that a lot of people just when they get older in life, they just don't want to go yet. Now, specifically with Hezekiah's case, he was considered a righteous king. And yeah, he made some dumb decisions at times, like don't we all?
Yeah.
But he was considered a righteous king in God's eyes and immemorial afterwards. And all I know is if I was in a position of kingship after Manasseh, and then I'm the righteous king that comes up and I'm doing good, and God is blessing the people because I'm leading them into righteousness,
Yeah.
knowing that the moment I die, the next guy could be like
Yeah.
Manasseh,
Yeah.
I may not want to die so quickly either.
Yeah.
Because if he loves the people, which is the heart of Torah,
Mm-hmm.
right? He may not want to leave them because he knew the history of Israel, like the good king, bad king, good king, bad king. It's like back and forth every single time, and it was extremely frustrating, right? I can imagine the good kings being extremely frustrated, to be like, "Ugh, Father, please raise up a righteous king after me to lead and get these people, maintain the prosperity that we have in this country, maintain the dedication to you, and don't go back to the Baals and that kind of stuff." I can only imagine. There's no stated answer in my memory in Scripture, but that's what I would imagine that a righteous king thinks as he's about to die, knowing the history of good king, bad king, good king, bad king. Like, I wouldn't want to die soon either. So I would want to help my people maintain solidarity, get them rooted and grounded in faithfulness as much as possible, so they can withstand the inevitable Game of Thrones attack that's going to happen the moment he dies.
I can say, just from a peasant perspective, I'm no queen or anything, but I can say that after many, many years of living in pure survival mode, always on the cusp of homelessness, inactive addiction, no good man in my life to be seen for hundreds of thousands of miles. Coming into a life of a beautiful marriage with a wonderful, godly man, with a beautiful child, and having a home to call my own. There's definitely parts of me that are like, okay, Lord, you can tarry a little before you bring the kingdom, because I've never had a life that was really enjoyable until now. So I can tell you that it's when your life becomes enjoyable and the Lord starts pouring out those kinds of earthly blessings on you through family and marriage. I definitely want more than 15 years. I want me and Sean to live into our old age. I always say, give him a long life like Abraham and give me a long life like Sarah, but Sarah died quite a few years before Abraham. So Sean doesn't really like that prayer, but I think when you're walking in God's blessing on this side of the resurrection, it's very easy to feel like, yeah, like when in my prior life, I really didn't care if I got hit by a bus walking across the street someday, like whatever, I'll go be with the Lord. Now it's like, can I have some more time with my family before I come be with you, Lord? Because my family is so wonderful and I'm so blessed and I want to be here for my child. And, there's all that aspect to it as well.
For sure. For sure. I think we have another question up here. It says, Ken Gibbs is asking, I've always thought Passover was the wedding supper of the Lamb being fulfilled in the kingdom, but saw someone point out that it may be the Feast of the Birds shown in Revelation 19. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Passover is a definition from Leviticus 23, Exodus 23, Deuteronomy 16. Passover is a eternal statute of Yahweh, as a festival to Yahweh, celebrated 7 days, also referenced as the unleavened bread 7-day festival. And the Feast of the Birds, also paralleled in Ezekiel 39 of Revelation 19, is simply the dead bodies that the scavenger birds are gonna feast on after the day of the Lord, before the mass cleanup happens. So I'm not sure who's trying to make that connection, but I would highly disagree.
I might have to go down there and
You just laid back down.
yeah,
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. No name, no picture. Thank you for the super chat. 42 release date. Not here yet. I'm sorry, guys. Thanks for your patience. It's not finished. It's
he's trying not to make it into an 8-hour episode.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one. So I'm just not done yet.
Yeah, it's a big one, but he is consistently working on it. Like, it's not on the back burner. I've stopped asking. FYI, we don't have any control over memberships. We don't have any control over when it deducts from bank accounts. That's all YouTube.
Curious. That's I'm the Sean Ryan show. That's a former Navy SEAL, former CIA operative. I'm not sure what he and I would talk about. Also, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I know he delves into some religious stuff. I've seen this stuff from time to time, but I don't think that I'm big enough to be on that kind of radar, right? And he's got like 5 million subs or something like that. He has pretty big name guests on there, so I don't think I'm big enough for that. But if the Father works something out like that, that's fine. But um, I'll talk to anybody.
What's this Feast of the Birds?
It's Revelation 19 when the birds eat on the dead bodies after
Oh.
the Battle of Armageddon.
It's not called the Feast of the Birds in the book, is it?
No, that someone's just
called it that.
yeah,
now?
someone's just making up another interpretation.
Jeez.
That's
not you, Can. By the way,
Yeah.
whoever used that phrase with you, I'm like, what?
yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure.
I didn't even watch it yet. I understand. I understand.
Might make for a good reaction vid, babe.
Yeah, but you got the problem is finding out of 3 hours of conversation,
Yeah.
finding the thing to react to. So I'm struggling to find the time for that type of stuff right now. So maybe I'll just make this announcement now. Okay. We're asking for your prayers. I think I'm at a point in Kingdom and Context. I've been joking about this for a long time, but I think I'm at a point now where, in order for me to maintain consistent content and do everything we need to do, guys, I actually need an assistant. So I'm asking if everyone would pray with me that the Father would help us increase to a place to where we can afford an assistant. If someone wants to volunteer like an internship before we can afford to pay you, in faith and trust that Yahweh will provide us with the funds to pay that person, well, even if it's just like 5 or 10 hours a week to start, you know what I'm saying? If you're interested in that, because what I need help with is that kind of stuff, right? Where you do see a video that we might be able to react to, or you might want to help with an email chain as far as setting up interviews with pastors or PhDs or whatnot. Or you may want to help me collate an email chain or the emails that I can respond to efficiently throughout the day, because I get more emails than I can respond to. I start running into issues with timing as far as how much time I have to engage in certain email chains to set up debates, interviews, a whole bunch of stuff, right? Finding clips that would be appropriate to react to, just a whole bunch of things. And if it works out well, if you are capable to do and understand technology, so I guess that would be the big requirement, is that you can be capable with technology, right? No offense to anyone out there. There's some people that are 70 years old and computer programmers, right? So, but there's others of you out there that you know who you are. You may have a good intention. You may want to help and be a part of it, but you can't do what needs to be done. So keep that in mind. Please don't be offended if you decide that you want to help with this type of thing, but you're just not qualified to help with this type of thing. So just keep that in mind, I guess, as well. But I am at the point where I've been at the point for quite some time, where there's several things I need to get organized behind the scenes that I need help with, because it's just more than one person can do. And I need help. So we're at a place where we need to grow like that, in that regard. And I need help. So please pray with me. And if you're interested in something like that, email me at kingdomandcontext@gmail.com. It's also in the video description below, our main email, and we can talk about it.
Speaking of, did you ever respond to that gal who emailed about me speaking at a conference?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Quiet chat today. Nobody's got any more questions? We're not going to have much to talk about if there's no questions. We'll have to just go. Bella has got half of her tongue hanging out while she's asleep right now. So cute.
Looks like somebody else already got it.
The Griffins will never, ever, ever move to Texas. I will melt. It's way too hot. It's way too humid. It's way too huge and full of big flat fields. I am a mountain girl through and through.
No, Sister Tracy.
No. We tried to move to Texas and God stopped us. Okay. We tried to move to Texas in 2020.
Not because we desired to live there, but we had friends there, and there was a situation with Lighthouse where we thought we might be needed to be there, but thankfully we were not. So we were
it was the
pleasantly
wildest thing because there were rentals galore, and every single rental we contacted, nobody got back. No, and they were all run by like actual realtors. Nobody returned any calls, emails. It was weeks. We were like, and we were getting down to the wire of when we were going to have to move out of our house. And we had like 1 week to go when we came up to Wyoming and started checking it out up here. Cause we're like, what else are we going to do? It's cheaper up there. It's normal up there. They're not all covered in face diapers up in Wyoming. Let's go be with our people. So yeah, we tried Texas once and God said, no, sorry.
Incarnate, I'm not sure. They haven't asked me to return, so
I need to respond to him about me dropping the ball as your unpaid intern. Hey, you guys don't understand. A wife cannot be an assistant because when a wife is trying to remind a husband of things, that just means she's a nag. Okay. And I'm already working on not being a nag. So no, he's got to go pay someone to nag him, and then it won't feel like nagging.
You have plenty to remind me about in our regular life.
Exactly.
Our regular life, outside of anything to do with Kingdom and Context. You have plenty to remind me about. So
yes, we're in Wyoming. We're in Southeast Wyoming.
And my brain is only so big. So if I want to retain this biblical knowledge, all this other administrative calendar organizing stuff, that just, I get overwhelmed. It's not, I'm not a secretary. I'm a researcher, a studier, a speaker, a debater,
an author.
I'm not a secretary. So like, it's hard for me to balance every single aspect of this. And I'm just at the point where I gotta be humble and ask, I need help.
Hold the front. I'm sorry. The mountains have my heart. Like real mountains, not East Coast mountains, not Appalachian mountains.
Arachne love. I think I said that properly. Which calendar do you follow for the feast? We follow the Zadok priestly calendar, which some people just call it the Zadok calendar. So it's based off Enoch and Jubilees, 364 days. And so that's the one we follow for our feast days.
I know you're teasing me.
You can actually see a good, if you go over to Hanging on His Words, the YouTube channel, you'll probably find a link there to the calendar that we follow, because Ken from Hanging on His Words, he actually produces a physical flipping calendar that you can get from him. So
speaking of prayer requests, pray for Ken and his wife and their new little family.
Yeah, they're going through the throes of newborn.
Yes, they are in the thick of it. And, I'm sure many of you have noticed Ken has not been able to get to his ministry lately. And the calendar is part of his ministry, and producing that for the body has been a huge service. And so, pray that the Lord works things out for them in their new season of life, to where they can find a balance, so that Ken can get back to, his calling within the body. But me and his wife I guess we're basically best friends at this point. So, prayers for Asher. He's not sleeping well at all, really. He's not sleeping at all. Hasn't been sleeping at all since he came home. So prayers for Asher to get into a good sleep rhythm so that Jess can be in a better sleep rhythm, because Ken's working a lot, and it's a refining fire.
MD's asking which timeline's more accurate, Septuagint or Masoretic. Honestly, don't know. I know there's a discrepancy of 100 years in Genesis 5 and Genesis 11. I know it's debated for a long time. I know it's theorized that the rabbis, I mean, it's just speculation, but it's theorized that the rabbis changed this information within the older Septuagints in order for it to be disqualified and discredited because they hated it, and that's why they eventually made the Masoretic translation, because they wanted one that they considered a Hebrew, faithfully Hebrew translation. They didn't like that their most popular version of the scriptures, even the Tanakh, was Greek throughout most of the world. So they hated that because there's a sense of like language racism involved in Judaism.
Yes.
So they think it has to be Hebrew or nothing, which is just nonsense.
Yes.
Because Yahweh's the one who made the languages at the tower.
It was him.
So
the Greeks were probably people, like, their language can probably trace back to the tower.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a debated thing. I've never found an answer that solves the debate. All right, Juan, he's asking 1 Corinthians 10:23. Can you give me some thoughts on this? I'm trying to discern if I should need to not do things in terms of music, movies, UFC, football. Talks about do things that honor Yah.
Let's pull it up.
Yeah, brother, I think you actually, either you or someone, I think this question has definitely been asked before. But let's look at it real quick. 10:23. Okay. Everything's permissible, but not everything's beneficial. Everything's permissible, but not everything is edifying. So you're asking in the context of what seems to be your life, as far as not doing things pertaining to music, movies, UFC, football, or even talking about things, do things that honor Yah.
The chapter talks about. The verse talks about.
No one should seek his own good, but the good of others. Trying to discern if I should. Give me thoughts on. Okay, well, so the context of 1 Corinthians 10 is back in chapter 8. That's where it starts. Okay, so 8 through 10 is like one long context, right, for this discussion that Paul's trying to explain about some Christians that are new to the faith, and so therefore they're being referenced as being weak in the faith, whereas other ones are longer in the faith and they're considered strong in the faith, and they may be able to do things and engage with the culture around them in a way that the weak in the faith are not, because it causes them to be a stumbling block. They're not ready for that, right? Like, for example, when I was in Bible school, I drove past this Angela's Psychic shop on this road to the Bible school. I would because I had to drive like a 15-minute drive across town to the Bible school. And I would drive on this route. I would drive past Angela's Psychic shop. And so every day for the first 6 months of Bible school, I was praying for whoever this Angela was at the psychic shop, that she would be, freed from this demonic oppression, and she would come out, she would shut down I'm basically praying against the psychic shop to be shut down, right?
Yeah.
Back and forth from school every day. And about 6 months in, I say to Yahweh, I'm like, Father, I'm just in the car praying and driving. I'm like, Father, I'm tired of praying for this lady. Why are you putting this on my heart? Like, let me just either, get her saved or tell me to stop praying for her. Like, I'm definitely, still learning about how to talk to Yahweh respectfully. So I hear clear as day, why don't you stop the car and go in and talk to her? So I did. So I did a U-turn.
This story.
I pulled over and I went in and I talked to Angela, the clearly Middle Eastern psychic lady, whom I was acting like, I didn't know. I've never been into a psychic shop, right? So I never knew, I didn't know what they did. So I just acted like I was a potential customer that was just inquiring about what does she do.
Yeah.
Right? Before I went in there, I prayed and I was like, Father, if you just give me something to say, I don't want to just walk in there stumbling and bumbling and saying God loves you.
Yeah.
I want to have something specific to say to her if I'm going to go in there. Because this is during that time of my life where I've said before on several different streams that I felt like I was getting words of knowledge in my life, where I was like, I would hear things clearly from the Father and then test them, and lo and behold, it was correct. right? So I felt like I was supposed to go in there and tell her that God loves her, but he wants to romance her soul away from the things that are drawing her into this line of work, and that he wants to free her from the pain that she's experienced in the past. And because they're like chains that wrap around her that he can break her free of. And that's the message I had, that little bitty message. That was the message I felt like I had to go talk to this lady. So I walk in there and I'm like looking around. She's got like, bookshelves up over here. And she's standing behind this desk in the back, and it's kind of dark. The whole place is kind of dark. And I'm like, and she's like, "Oh, how are you? Do you need a reading today?" And I'm like, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I've never been into a shop like this before. So I'm being honest with her. I'm telling her, I don't know what you do or how it works. And so, she's like, "Okay, well, for $70, I can read your tarot cards and tell you something about yourself. And for $100, I can tell you something about someone else." And I was like, oh. I was like, "Well, no, I don't need any of that. Actually, I have a message for you." So I was trying not to make it awkward. I'm sure it came across awkward. So and then I told her the message that I felt like God gave me before I walked in there. And I said, and then after I finished saying the little message I told her, she goes like this, looks like, leans back in her chair and looks into this like little cubbyhole doorway area, and the door was cracked,
Yeah.
and she had like fear on her face, and she looked into and there was no light. This door, wherever this door went to, this shop was like connected to a house, and it was like the garage that was turned into this shop.
Interesting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that was the doorway into the house.
Yeah.
Right. And it was dark, and I could see the door cracked open, and it was dark. There's no light coming from there. And I just got this overwhelming sense of dread that somebody was watching me from within that cracked, dark doorway.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, that's all I wanted to tell you. Bye-bye. I got to go." And so I just left. Right. Don't know what happened. Right. Didn't get any follow-up information from that. So, we're in Bible school, and we're having this like we're one of our classes, we break off into groups, and like this is like a week later, we break off into groups, and we start talking about what is God, what's something interesting God's done in your life in the last week or so. So I tell them this little story about going to witness this lady of the Bible. I did mention Jesus Christ, and I did tell her that he has the message for her, that kind of stuff, right? So I'm telling the people at Bible school, like, this is what I just did in the past weeks, about the only interesting thing I think of. And after that little session was over, some of the other people from the Bible study come up to me, and they tell me that, "Man, you can't do stuff like that. You're in danger. You can't walk into the enemy's stronghold like that, and you get demons on you. You can't do stuff like, you got to go in. You need to go in like prayed up." And I was like,
Yeah.
"You need to go in with other people with you." I was like, "Why? The Lord our God with us."
Yeah.
Right? Like, so like they were like afraid, right? After I told the story, that they're like, "Bro, you can't be doing stuff like that." I'm like, "Why not? Isn't that what we're called to do?"
Yeah.
The light shines in the darkness. The darkness doesn't power over the light. Like, we can walk in and share the message of God. And like, I was protected by God. I had no fear whatsoever. Right. Other people hearing the story had fear for me that I didn't even have.
Wow.
For them, they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Their faith wasn't to the point where they could do that. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just trying to say, I was extremely fearless when I was younger, guys. You have no idea. Some people will call it arrogance. Like, I was extremely fearless. And it took me a while to realize other people are not like that when it comes to the faith. And other people, depends on where they are and what their temptations are, what their weaknesses are, what's going on there. Like, some people cannot go into certain settings because it's going to mess with them. And if that's your situation, if you are evaluating yourself to be like that, then Paul's drawn out context from 1 Corinthians 8-10 applies to you. If you find yourself in some facet of life to be in a place where you consider yourself weak and possibly engaging in certain activities be a stumbling block. The context of chapter 8-10 here is he's talking about buying meat in the market that's considered a pagan market. And for some people, they would think, "Oh, well, this food may have been somehow connected to a false god. So therefore, they feel like if they eat it, there's going to be a sense of somehow it's affecting them and their faith and defiling them. And for those who are weak in that regard, Paul says, all right, well, don't eat that meat in front of them because you're messing with them. You're creating a stumbling block. Consider them, right? In a sense, everything's permissible. This is just a saying, by the way, he's repeating from his day. According to scholars, everything is permissible, but not everything's beneficial.
Okay.
That's why it's in quotes in the text.
Yeah.
Everything's permissible.
Okay.
It's
like
not
a proverb at the time.
It's not a proverb from the Bible.
Right.
It's just a saying in the culture of his day in Corinth was, well, everything's permissible, but not everything's beneficial. So essentially, he's trying to say for those who are strong in the faith, you may be able to do things and be just fine. You're not in sin. You're just okay. But others who are weaker in the faith, they may look at you as if you're sinning or are in sin, and maybe you have the wisdom to not do it around them because it's going to be a stumbling block to them. It's because in their mind, it's as if you're giving cosign to something they think is sinful and would cause them to sin. And so you're being a bad example to them. So therefore, don't do it around them. I'm giving you a broad overview of 3 whole chapters of context of him trying to flesh this out. Again, Paul's very long-winded.
Yeah, so he's not necessarily talking about like just everyday pastimes, right? There's a specific context of the conversation that he's talking about, and obviously everyday pastime. Sure, football could become a figurative idol in your life. Like if things like that are becoming like a figurative idol, and you're neglecting, your walk with Christ to view those things or purchase tickets or like if enjoying those pastimes leads you into sin, then that's something you need to be reflecting on with yourself. But if they're not leading you into sin, I don't think there's anything wrong with daily pastimes.
Do you remember a couple years ago when we did the Demons of Babylon episode?
Mm-hmm.
So I had quite a few people email me and say, just after, because I always do 3 teaser videos for every 42 episode, right, to lead up to it. And as I was releasing those teaser videos, people were telling me, because they saw clips from the first, what's it called? Exorcist movie, showing about that specific demon that shows up at the end and how it's not what people think. And here's the history of it. And so this is part of Babylonian magic and things like that. People would email me after seeing those teaser clips before I even did the live broadcast saying, if you're going to be showing images from that movie, I can't watch this because it messes with me too much. So they were like, please don't show images or sounds from that movie in your live broadcast because it messes with me too much, right? That's why I ended up putting a warning at the beginning of that video before I did the Demons of Babylon 3-hour video, because some people it just messes with them too much, right? So if you're watching a movie that if you're watching some movie that's like all about the occult and it messes with you in some way, whether it's fear or whether it's temptation, okay, don't watch that. Like these are like the restraints, or if you're engaging in some sort of pastime that causes you to transgress the Sabbath by paying someone to work or whatnot, like don't do that, right? So but essentially, there will be times though where we may have to go into certain places that some Christians may view as not a good place because you're trying to minister or be an influence of positivity to somebody for a specific reason. You know what I mean? So, I've told the extreme story only like one time in the past about this guy I knew that used to hold a Bible study in a strip club. I'm not kidding. At the back room of the strip club, he held a Bible study, and the girls would go on stage and then come and sit down and listen to the Bible study. And then when their name was called, they would get up and go back out and dance and then come back and be like, what did I miss? And they're all sitting there naked. And he's having the Bible study, focused on what he's doing. He never took one of them home. He never dated them. He never touched them. That was his strength. Those women were curious to hear the word and needed it in their life. Clearly, that was his strength to be able to go in there and do that and not be tempted and swayed by it. Not every guy can do that.
Yeah.
So
I'd say very few.
Very
can
few.
do that.
Very few. So was it Ezekiel that was told to be naked for a year? Was it Isaiah?
I thought it was Isaiah.
Isaiah was told to be naked for a year. So there's some, it's a great question, brother. I hope I provide some contextual clarity there for you and application. Chuck is asking, where did reincarnation come come back here. Over and over concept originate. It originated from India, at least to my studies. So the early Indian empires talked about reincarnation for the gods that ruled over them, and how they would reincarnate into new avatars. So this is where the concept of the avatar came from. This is why the Buddha is considered a ninth avatar of Shiva, the god, or not Shiva, but Vishnu, the god Vishnu. So that's where that idea initially came from. But then in later empires, as you get closer, like, you know, I don't know the fullness of how India demarcates their historical timeline, but later in time, some of the kings decided they wanted to entice the average person in India to be a good citizen, so to speak. And so they said, if you're a good citizen, you'll get reincarnation as well. And so they then opened up the idea of reincarnation and the false promise of reincarnation to all peoples and not just the gods, over time, to try to entice them to be good citizens.
Yeah, and fun fact, reincarnation is something that's taught within Judaism.
And there are aspects of Judaism that believe in reincarnation. Why? Because it's built on philosophy.
Yep.
From Kabbalah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually, I've got an entire tab open right now about the history of Greek philosophy starting in India.
Okay.
And how the Indians are upset because they're like, we gave the Greeks philosophy.
We started it.
But the Western world thinks that thinks that Socrates and Plato and all those guys
definitely prop them
were
up
original thought. But we gave
heroes,
them. Yeah. So there's modern day Indian people today are claiming we gave them philosophy from our writings, from our Vedic texts, and from our things, but the Greeks claimed it as their own. So that's interesting. I'm going to be putting it in one of my 42 series later. I don't have a date, guys. Later, but I'm doing a lot of research, sometimes years in advance before you see this stuff in a 42 video.
Yeah. I am not in regular contact with the Leclercs on a personal level myself, but Sean just spoke with Andrew the other day, and they're doing Sukkot in Michigan, as far as I know. And then as far as I know, they're actually heading out west. So they might be coming around our area for a visit sometime. So that would be nice. So as far as I know, they're great. They're doing fine.
Hey, Zeal, set apart, man. Thank you so much for the generous super chat. That's awesome, bro. He asking about any upcoming debate gravy. I need a Sean or Witsit fix. Sorry about YouTube's cut. I need y'all's Cash App or something. Happy Tabernacles to those celebrating. Yeah, Zeal, first off, thank you so much for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you.
We do have ways below. I think PayPal. I don't think our Cash App is in. We do have a Cash App, but I don't think it's in modern day video descriptions. I don't know why, but I believe it's in our YouTube channel description. But if you still need it, you're welcome to email me at Kingdom and Contacts, and I can get it to you. There are some people that regularly donate to us every month through Cash App. So big shout out to you guys as well. If you're watching right now, those of you who are out there, thank you so much for everyone, obviously, that donates to us. Thank you so much, guys. You guys it's amazing, keeping us going, helping us grow and continue to reach more people. So it's amazing. I've been trying to set up a first Enoch debate for months, and the guy keeps saying yes, but won't pin down a date. So still waiting, try to figure that out. I don't have any other dates, any other debates beyond that right now. So
we've also had to boycott the 2 channels that Sean was on most often for debates, just because the stinky Trinitarian fruit just finally got to be too much, and Sean just can't abide that behavior anymore and keep giving his time to these other channels where, Sean helps bring in money for those channels. So people love to pay to argue with Sean. So that's also been a big change lately, is that there were 2 channels that he was on very often that host debates on. Like, that's what they do, is host debates. And Sean finally decided to say enough is enough.
Yeah, but they weren't on there to treat me with respect.
Exactly.
They were on there to literally mock me.
Yes.
For our faith. And so at that point I had to cut ties.
Yeah.
So
yep.
And I have a whole video about it if you guys want to see. It's one of our live streams the past 2 or 3 months called Rampant or Unchecked Sin
in the Body
on Trinitarian YouTube. Yeah.
Someone in the chat said Sean was taking their converts. I mean, certainly seeds were being planted. That's the whole reason Sean, made the effort. A lot of people would be like, "Why do you waste your time with these debates?" And a lot of those people seem to forget there's still like fertile hearts out there that needs seeds planted, and if they're only exposed to these bad Trinitarian ideas, then how are they ever going to get a seed planted about the Trinity, let alone the commandments? So, I thought we had a couple of videos on Satan's little season. I guess it's been a while.
Yeah, I need to make a new. I did the debate on it, but like I need to make a new
Yeah,
video on it. It's exclusively.
yeah, because even the one that you did where you talked to Noel, it was like, lovely brother, nice
Yeah,
guy, but holy moly, I was very, very much struggling to
follow.
follow his theory on things. And so,
Yeah,
yeah, I guess it would be nice to have a,
he's a wonderful writer, but sometimes, just as in wonderful speakers are not good writers, sometimes wonderful writers are not great speakers.
yeah, true.
Because you can't speak like you write.
Yeah, that's true.
Because sometimes people can't follow it.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
Emmanuel, YouTube gets a cut of everything. It's YouTube. It's their platform. So,
Yeah.
yes, that is reality.
yeah, so this is why we tell people like you get all the same benefits on our Patreon, and they
Mhm.
take a little bit less. So there's that.
Yeah.
There's that. So that's why we have more people on Patreon than we do on YouTube that support us.
Yeah.
Because
They
over
prefer-
time they figured out that Patreon takes less of
Yeah.
a cut.
I also just have much less of a beef with Patreon just on principles.
Yeah, if Patreon works on their post wall,
Yeah.
they could
Could be actual
give
competition.
Facebook and YouTube a run for their money
Mm.
because they're clearly got the patronage essentially from the creator community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they offer live streams now with live chats.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's not as
Streamlined.
efficient
Yeah.
as YouTube yet, but they do offer live streams. So that's
Dang
very interesting.
juggernaut over here.
PJB is asking, I've just wondered about something regarding the second resurrection. Jesus promised to prepare a place for us. Do you know about scripture that states he's preparing places for the second resurrection? Yeah, brother, it's the same place. It's the New Jerusalem. It's
Yeah.
the same house of God. He says he returns to his Father in John 14 to prepare a place for his Father's house or many mansions. That's the same place. The people that take part in the second resurrection to eternal life will also, in my understanding, going to be inheriting a place inside the kingdom as well. It's going to be a massive kingdom. There is, I don't have the link right now. If West Blaze is watching this and you got the link, West Blaze, to that video you made that goes over the math for all the space inside the New Jerusalem. I mean, you could fit billions upon billions upon billions. I mean, like you could fit 100 billion people in there. It's a massive land of the New Jerusalem that's coming down out of heaven. All right, Pablo is asking, do I think Nimrod is going to spawn with a new material body when he shows up? To my understanding about how Apollyon, which is what I think you're referring to, this is Revelation chapter 9, verses 1 through 11. He's also the beast that's referenced who came up out of the pit in Revelation 11 and 17 and 19. So this is the first beast who is called Apollyon in the book of Revelation that Christ destroys at his coming, throws him in the lake of fire. And this particular person, I think he's a spiritual being. So this is where it goes in. If you check out our Apollyon video, this is part 7 of our Investigating Babylon series. I try to explain the concept of how he is basically become, according to the ancient writings of the Egyptians, he basically became an unclean spirit. He was no longer human. There was the wisdom of Ra that was able to change him into immortal flesh, so to speak. So give him a type of spiritual body, but then he's been locked away in the earth, waiting for this moment of return. So he's Osiris to the Egyptians, whom Ra did this to, and Osiris is one of these synchronous characters within the Egyptian lore that the Greeks and the Indians share as well. That is a god that's going to return, who is he was going to return at the end of time and try to take over the world, basically. So there's a lot of various gods and levels of gods within the Egyptian pantheon, and the family of gods within ancient Egypt, that none of them are spoken to have returned except for Osiris. And Ra never went anywhere. That's the part no one seems to ever talk about.
Yeah.
Ra was one that said to never have gone anywhere, but Osiris is the only one that said to actually return later and later. So this is where, in my research and study, I try to show how this all lines up historically and biblically. So this is the one that comes up out of the pit, and how, if he's not a normal human anymore, is how, and this is what is explained in ancient Egyptian writing, that the wisdom of Ra himself was able to transform Osiris's earthly flesh into immortal flesh. And this is how he's quote unquote being preserved, in a sense, waiting for a moment of return in the future. So this is also why the things that come up with him out of the pit seem to be of a spiritual nature as well. But this is the part where I don't think that this is why we stress so much in so many different discussions and videos, understanding the difference in the resurrected spiritual body and the angelic spiritual body versus the earthly spiritual body. Just like the unclean spirits had a body, it's a spiritual form that is tangible. That's why they can tangibly possess you. And then your tangible body goes into rapid forms of psychosis or disease. They can move objects around your house. They can push you.
Yeah.
they can
scratch you.
They have
you.
tangible bodies. Unclean spirits are not just thoughts. Unclean spirits are not just immaterial energy that you can't physically, tangibly interact with. They did previously have a body, now they don't, but they still can interact because they're an unclean spirit, just like they do possess people and still interact. So this is how this is in, what is it? In what talks about Judas betraying Christ, it says Satan entered him.
Yeah.
So an unclean spirit, just like the Spirit of God can enter into you, that's a spiritual, tangible thing that you feel when it comes inside of you. It's just because you can't see it with your natural eyes, just like in 1 Kings chapter 6, when Elijah opens the eyes of the guy so he can see all the angels and chariots and horses all around the mountains around them that are the angels of the Lord that had already been there, but the natural eye couldn't see it immediately because they're physically there, right? The Yahweh's physically sending angels to fight on behalf of the righteous. So there's this understanding, this concept of the spiritual body and the physical body, and how they can interact with each other, and how spiritual bodies can be detained in the earth, just like the unrebellious spiritual angels are held in Tartarus until the day of destruction. So this is why Apollyon comes out, and this is why I believe Second Baruch chapter 27, I think it is, talks about one of the end times. One of the plagues that plagues mankind in the end times is the attack of the specters, the attack of the unclean spirits, the Shadim. And this is where you see all these things with Nimrod popping up out of the earth and looking like this weird amalgamation of some sort of chimera, and it goes and interacts with mankind to attack them. So this is, I think it's just the average person doesn't understand how the spiritual and the physical interact, because they've been sold gnosis. They've been sold a Gnostic version of reality that they think the spiritual world is immaterial.
Yeah.
It's not. So it's a pretty clever trick of the devil to get the majority of mankind to think, or at least of the Western world, to think that the spiritual world cannot be interacted with other than like God's spirit coming inside you when you convert.
Yeah.
Right. They believe that.
Well, here's the thing though. They also believe that, a psychic is working with unclean spirits and she's deceived by them. Like, they understand that these things can influence human beings. But yeah, I think the physical aspect of things is what's lost on people, which is unfortunate because it does bleed into, having belief in angels and Yeshua's body and the Lord's body.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what that abbreviation means.
Satan little season.
Oh. Okay.
One, I'm not sure. You're asking about the PO box. So best to use this address. I'm guessing you're referring to my PO box address in the video description. If people want, we have people that donate to this through that. We're super grateful for that as well. So yeah, if anyone wants to donate through that as well, you can. Lisa's asking, do you care if people who believe in Satan's Little Season come and listen to your videos if they are not making comments on Satan's Little Season in the chat? Yeah, I don't care if they come and listen. Just we're not. The problem we've had in the past with people that are extremely excited about this theory of Satan's Little Season is that they can't just peaceably disagree. It becomes a contentious thing where they start fights in the live chat. So we just mute them. And so, like, we have a lot of people that listen to us that don't agree with everything we talk about, and they're not making fights about it every day, right? So, again, we've vehemently and openly since 2019 stated we disagree with this theory of Satan's Little Season. And there's a ton of I've done debates about it. In 2022, I did a whole debate against it, but we'll do more videos on it against it in the future. But you're welcome. Anyone is welcome to come listen to us, no matter what views you hold. The moment you start fighting about it and obsessively spamming it in the chat, so insults, accusations, contention, spam, those are things that get you muted and booted from the chat, because you're just distracting other people that are trying to be here in good faith and listen. So anyone's available to come and listen.
We prefer that people respect that this is our channel where Sean teaches sound doctrine, and that refrain from trying to teach people in our chat contrary to what we are teaching them. So even outside of the being hostile and making a fight out of it, it's rude and it's disrespectful to come into another teacher's space and usurp his authority in his space that he's created to teach people who want to learn from him by going into our chat and teaching contrary to what Sean is teaching. So we also appreciate when people are respectful of our space here, that you would never, if Sean was doing this in a building at the front in a pulpit, giving these teachings, you would never walk into that congregation and sit down and just start standing up and I object to that. Here's why he's wrong, and turning around to the audience and saying, here's what's actually going on, guys. He's wrong. Here's what the Bible really says. Like, people would not do that in real life at a real physical congregation. So we would prefer if people would have the same decorum in our chat, because we look at this as our congregation where we're feeding the flock. But you can't always convince people to be respectful like that. So a lot of times people can get away with coming in the chat and doing stuff like that while they're being nice about it. But I'm not going to lie, like, it's rude. You may be allowed to get away with it for a while, but it's rude. And I'm looking at you like you're rude the whole time you're doing it. But
Darren's a great question. He's asking, how can a non-God like Ra do something to affect a person, like give them an immortal body? Remember, Ra to the Egyptians was Azazel, or Satan. So he's a part of the 200 that descended in the days of Jared before the flood, who created immortal beings, the unclean spirits, by this hybrid process of birthing them through the womb of women. I don't know how they did it. I can't replicate that process, but they did it. The Bible says they did it. It's testified over and over throughout Scripture. We know that's the origin of the unclean spirits.
Also, how are we using the word God? Because angels are Elohim technically. So just because something is not our creator doesn't mean that they don't have the power to do magic. I mean, go look at Moses and how the Egyptian sorcerers duplicated many of the miracles that Moses had performed, that God performed for Moses. And those sorcerers could perform the same miracles in some of those cases.
And
Obviously,
Satan gave them the power to do
yes,
so.
and obviously other things they couldn't do. They couldn't, bring a plague of frogs on the nation or get rid of the frog. There are things they couldn't do, but there is a certain amount of authority within the spiritual realm that they have to perform these dark arts and be in this kind of sin and tempt people away from the Lord. And Satan himself has been given authority for a time to be the tempter. So I mean, we don't know the science of how they could make an immortal body for him, but there are things that the occult is trying to figure out to do that they've been trying to figure out how to do for generations. So I think there's some things that they clearly can't accomplish, and it may not be a truly immortal body. It may not be a body that would have to be destroyed in the lake of fire, like God's truly immortal created bodies. So we just don't have enough details, really.
XRP, XLM, XDS, Flat Earth. Yeah, great question. I'm not opposed to receiving Bitcoin. I guess since I have a wallet, but I think just if anyone's interested in sending me crypto, just email me at kingdomandcontext@gmail. And we can set something up. Because I don't have my address in the video descriptions. So I've got like the smallest fraction of Bitcoin ever. Like I've got more XRP.
A tiny little sliver of a coin. A little shaving off the edge of it.
Yeah, because one coin's like $120,000.
Holy moly.
Thank you, Wes. I appreciate you putting that in the live chat. Anybody wants to see how big the New Jerusalem is, you can check out this video. Does a great job with animations and everything. Scott with 1T is asking, some brothers of mine like the teachings of Dr. Jackson Snyder. I find a lot of his stuff to be unscriptural, primarily Revelation being fulfilled. What are your best Revelation refutations? Thanks, bro. I'm sorry, Scott. I'm not familiar with that person or his teachings, but from what you're describing, it sounds like preterism, or at least a very severe form of partial preterism where most of it is already fulfilled. And I would highly disagree. So there's a lot of problems with saying that Revelation is already fulfilled. But first and foremost, the biggest one being that Christ has not returned and isn't reigning forever. So that's a big problem.
I don't know what SmackDown you're talking about, Lisa.
I can't tell if it's a troll or not, but all right. So Strange Key TV, if you know that you have unclean spirits in you, I would strongly suggest going and visiting a local pastor in your area and asking them to pray for you for those to be removed from you. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a long drawn out process with a Catholic priest, and you're not going to be levitating against the ceiling and all that kind of. Just go to a local pastor, ask him if he'll pray for you for these situations, and lay his hands on you and pray for you for this to remove and exorcise these spirits from you. It's that simple. May God break them off your heart right now and remove them from your body right now in Christ's name. But I'm not sure if you're trolling me or not. So if you are sincere, go to that local pastor and let him pray for you. And let your mind be restored to embracing life and not welcoming death. Time to see, no. Thief on the Cross is your primary example.
I would say there's something to the fact that most of us who receive his spirit and are converted out of unbelief seem to feel a conviction to go get baptized. I certainly did. So I think there's something to that. And
just as you feel a conviction to disciple.
Yes.
Right.
So,
but it's not necessary to be entered in the kingdom.
No.
Right. Because the thief on the cross didn't get baptized, and Christ said, "You'll be with me in the kingdom."
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But I wasn't finished. I would wonder why a person may not feel that conviction to get baptized, just like I would wonder why they would not feel the conviction to be discipled. So I would wonder about that, just in terms of, that seems to be a pretty common conviction from the Spirit once people receive it. So I would wonder, why don't you feel that conviction to do that? But Oh my gosh, Messiah 2030. That's feels like such a throwback. Wasn't that like 3 years ago that they put that out?
Yeah,
We
don't
saw
ag-
problems with that immediately when we were watching it, didn't we?
I don't remember what the problems were
Yeah.
off the top of my head. I
I
don't
know
have a
they were
list,
there.
but we don't agree with it, Pablo. Sorry.
A lot of people put a lot of work into a lot of content. Just because someone puts a lot of work into something doesn't mean it's sound doctrine. I mean, look at the Zeitgeist documentary.
Hold the front. I don't think that we're seeing the four horsemen currently. I think that what we're currently witnessing is, although increasing, sure, but is what we've seen throughout history. There's wars, famine, plague. There's wars and rumors of wars. I think the specific judgment of the four riders on the horse that I mentioned in Revelation 6, I think that happens at the start of the 42 months. So if you have an opportunity to see my full breakdown and my thoughts on all this, check out Investigating Babylon Part 15, The Four Horsemen, where I talk about this specifically. We give timelines and breakdowns and scripture and everything, how I see it falling into place, so to speak, with the trumpet, seal, and bowl judgments of Revelation.
Can you help me, please? I cannot reach just the right bottom of my shoulder blade. I need scratched
Right here?
just a little higher. Right there.
Okay.
Harder. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Like just this tiny little spot I can't reach.
You mean to pick lice out of your hair too?
No, thankfully that is not a problem in our state. Another reason not to move out east. There's a lot less insects in Wyoming.
Yeah, Dawson, there's sometimes a YouTube documentary can be very convincing, but it just lacks a lot of critical questions. My goodness, the first time I would try to watch that 5-hour Tartaria thing, I tried to show it to her. It's like 2019. I was like, man, people keep asking me to review this, and I started to watch it. I was probably 2.5 hours in, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe people are falling for this. Like, there is so many assumptions made. There's so many leaps in logic made. There's so many problems with that whole concept. Not that there wasn't a people group that abided in some sense of the name Tartaria, but where they take it.
Yeah.
It then turned into, mud buildings. Everything's melted. Mountains are melted, people and buildings. And it became wild conjecture built upon someone questioning, why is that basement window half submerged in the ground?
Yeah.
Like,
and the speculations are all things that can't be proven.
No.
So, Sean and I, people, I feel like, have really missed this major message that Sean and I have been trying to deliver for 7 years, going on 8, and really hard for the last 4 to 5 years, about this idea of falling down rabbit holes that are just full of snares from Satan that will get you into the sin of false accusation. Our community is so concerned about accidentally sinning by doing some tradition from Christianity, and yet there's no care or concern about if they are spreading lies out of these documentaries that they're watching, out of these memes that they're sharing online, out of these tropes that they're being told by Torah teachers. If you're not checking this information, and if something can't be proven, it should not be shared as truth. It should not be shared in condemnation of people who follow whatever it is or think whatever it is, or do whatever the tradition is. If it cannot be proven that something, truly, if there was truly a mud flood and all these things, all this history has been changed, like if you can't prove those things, you are walking a very dangerous line into falsely accusing and slandering. And those are two things the Father hates. He is way more concerned about us falsely accusing our neighbors than he is if we use a tree in our house as decoration for a holiday. Like, people have not been hearing us loud and clear for as long as we've been trying to warn our part of the body, because I think every denomination, every part of the body struggles with some kind of sins, and on a micro level, we all are struggling with some kind of sins. But I think that certain sins are prevalent in certain bodies of people because of the teachings. And in our community, the sin of false accusation and slander is rampant because we are conspiracy people. We're rabbit hole people. I'm not saying that's bad, but we get it in our minds that we've connected a few dots through the television, and we think that those dots are showing us something has been a false flag or a hoax, or this person's evil and this person sold their soul to Satan and that person sold their soul to Satan. And we go around saying those words as if God is not holding us accountable if we are wrong. And that's what I've been trying to tell people specifically about the holidays for years. I'm like, you guys, you don't have to go do the Christian holidays. But if we're wrong about what we're saying about the origins of certain traditions and the origins of the holidays themselves, we are falsely accusing retroactively hundreds, thousands of generations of people. So I just want to encourage people, be careful about the infotainment that you are consuming, because the enemy works in the rabbit hole just as much as he does on the nighttime news. Okay. Anywhere where there's truth prevalent and where people are worried or concerned with truth, Satan is going to get his dirty little fingers in there any way he can. And the easiest way for him to do that is to put little thoughts in our minds that say, oh, this dot and this dot and that dot equals this accusation against somebody. And you don't even think twice if you're wrong, because you get this kind of like pride about, I got a gut feeling. I just know, I have discernment. I just know these people are evil. If you're wrong about that, you are not going to enter the kingdom. That will keep you out of the kingdom, falsely accusing and slandering. So if there's something you're not sure about, it's okay to have your own thoughts in your head and your own suspicions. I'm not saying I don't, but God has been really taking me through a season of showing me just how serious he is about speaking curses versus speaking blessings over people. And when we're out there accusing people we've never met in our lives, can't prove a darn thing we're saying about them, and we're out there accusing them, that is a serious sin. And the Father is grieved by it. And so, a lot of people haven't understood why I personally delved into the holiday question. It was because I started to see signs that some of these things I was sharing may not be true. And I got scared because I realized I could be falsely accusing millions of people at this point. I could be falsely accusing not just one person, but millions of people. And what's going to happen on Judgment Day when I have to answer for that? So I just want to encourage you all, guys, please be careful about the infotainment that you're consuming and what kind of information you're then sharing after you've been consuming that stuff. It's one thing to watch it, but if you're going to go out and share the information that you found there and you can't verify any of it, that's a very dangerous place to be. And I wouldn't want to be you on Judgment Day. So sorry, off my soapbox. Thanks for letting me cook,
the
baby.
season is a coming.
It is.
It's inevitable. As soon as November hits. Hey, thank you so much, Sharon. I appreciate the super sticker. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know all about controlled opposition, and yet you don't think that you could be you yourselves being tricked into becoming a form of controlled opposition, like for Satan himself, not even just for the worldly agenda. Like, come on, be careful.
Time to see. Awesome, man. Good to see that. I'm glad that you followed up on that conviction and you feel good about that. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
May you just continue in that fire for Yahweh and his son and go out there and change your world, bro. That's awesome. Speak the truth with boldness and confidence like Paul did in Acts. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, you guys, I've had paradigms that I have lived with and lived by for most of my life just smashed by the Father in this last year or so, and it's all surrounding this concept of being careful with my words and not to trip into the sin of false accusation. If that means that I just need to refrain from cursing my world leaders, then that's what I'm going to do. Like I'm allowed to have my opinion in my own mind. But when I speak those things out, man, that is being recorded in heaven.
Also, unless we think that these world leaders are not human, then we should be praying for their repentance.
Yeah.
Not just condemning them to hell.
Yeah.
So there's something to consider there.
Yeah.
Like we are not better than the Israelites who went into exile and were told to pray for the welfare of Babylon.
Yeah.
We are not.
Yeah.
There were people just like us. Jeremiah, no offense to anyone here, but I don't think anyone in this crowd listening to the sound of our voice right now, nor my wife and I, are better than Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And he was told to pray for the welfare of Babylon.
Yeah.
And in fact, yeah, I won't go too far into that,
Yeah.
but maybe we'll do a video sometime on that guy that was trying to prophesy against Jeremiah to be like, everything's okay. Israel's good and we're good.
Yeah. No.
And meanwhile, Yahweh's telling them, submit yourself to exile because it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop delaying it. The inevitable.
Well, and then it even extends into how they actually treated the kings of the nations that they were scattered into, because Daniel was, the way he spoke to the Babylonian king, like I can't imagine how many of us in our crowd could speak with that kind of respect and reverence to Trump.
Yeah.
Even me, like I've memed the guy. He's a very memeable guy.
Okay, we'll put it like flip it and go, could you speak with reverence like that to Obama?
Yes, either or, like, because I'm one of those who's always been like, I don't trust any of the presidents.
I don't trust any of them.
You don't have to trust them to bless them,
Yeah.
Like that's what God is really showing me. Yeah, like I can have
restore Big Mike to his proper identity.
I can have my understanding of how some things work at the upper echelons, but still not be out there making the accusations about it, and I can still be blessing them, So that's something that I think a lot of us should reflect on, is how Joseph treated Pharaoh.
Yep.
Like, gosh, you guys, I feel like if Joseph's story had taken place today, there would be YouTube videos breaking down why he was actually controlled opposition, because he went into Pharaoh's lair. He got a ring from Pharaoh. He got nice clothes from Pharaoh. He married an Egyptian priestess's daughter or something.
Daughter of Heliopolis.
Like Joseph totally broke all the tinfoil hat rules. Yeah. Like people would be doing the meme of the guy from It's Always Sunny with making all the connections about Joseph. So we should really reflect on this attitude, guys, that we have about conspiracy and accusing everybody. It's one thing to indulge in learning about, there are tactics being used against us. Obviously, there's psychological warfare, there's psyops, there's all that stuff is real. But man, we got to be careful when we talk about it.
Yeah, we do.
Let me read that question real quick.
What question?
Right here.
Oh,
okay.
Lisa's question. It wasn't in all caps, so I didn't see it easily. What are your thoughts on people who believe one can pray to saints or Mary because they are not omnipresent? How can they even hear your prayers? Well, there's a ton of, let me just start. We don't believe that you can pray to the saints or Mary, that they're in Sheol waiting the resurrection. We don't believe with Catholic doctrine that teaches that the moment the person dies, their soul goes to heaven. We believe the soul goes to Sheol, which is a place of rest where they await the resurrection to a new body, because the soul does not go to heaven without a body. So that's our understanding of that. And no, I know their definition is, just as you would ask a friend to pray for you, that's all they're doing.
They really do the mental gymnastics on this one. And this is why I'm like, I don't even try to argue with them at this point, because I'm like, okay, in their wrong paradigm, in their bad understanding, it is just like asking your friends to pray for you, because in their minds, these saints are alive and I guess somehow omnipresent. I guess I haven't asked a Catholic specifically, how can your friends who are saints who are up in heaven, how can they hear all their alive friends who are praying? I mean, maybe there's more than one person asking their friend in heaven to pray for them. Or the saints, the actual like saints that they make medallions out of, and like certain saints they pray for, like if you lose your keys, you pray to, I think it's Saint Teresa or something. Like, how do those, I would like to know, how do those saints hear all those prayers at once? How does Mary hear all those prayers at once? Because even with Mary, they try to act like, oh no, it's just because she's closest to Jesus.
Baby, Mary is invoked in the Red Book of Exorcism.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know what they are in such, guys. If you've ever been an alcoholic or an addict and you've gone to the rooms, denial is one of the trickiest things that a human being can deal with, because you don't know you're in denial. And they are in complete denial about the reality of what the scriptures say, versus even within their own doctrines that, they act like they don't treat Mary like a goddess. But the way that their language is about her, it's like, guys.
They pray to her for sanctification and salvation.
Yeah, I know.
It is.
I know.
It is bad.
I know. It's really bad. And I just trust the Lord with each individual soul. Because I know some people in Catholicism that I'm like, they have real faith. Like, I can see their faith. I can see Christ brought them out of unbelief, like I can see. But yeah, they definitely are just sitting under some really bad understanding, some bad teaching. I don't think I saw a message about someone named Kayla. I'll have to go check my filtered messages, I guess. If you're not friends with me on Facebook and you send me a message, I don't get a notification for it or anything. Like, I have to remember to go into my filtered messages on a regular basis and like scroll through, and I don't remember to do that very often because it's not like right in the, it's like in a different place on the menu. So yeah, I agree with you, Curious Disciple.
Sig, we're disciples of Christ. That's what we are. Disciples of Christ. We don't align ourselves in our identity with philosophic constructs as a presupposition to specific things the Bible never teaches. So we believe that there's a creator who sent his only son, his only begotten son, to be our Messiah, our high priest. And so there it is.
Yeah. And we're not Unitarians because we believe that Jesus existed before he came in the flesh, but we're also not Trinitarians because we believe he was not uncreated. We believe he had a starting point. And we don't believe the Holy Spirit is a third person with his own throne.
And we're not Arians because we don't believe that Jesus was created of a different substance than the Father.
Yeah, we're just biblical. We're biblicalists. Everybody in Christianity wants a label for their belief. And I feel like that in itself comes from philosophy, because the Bible doesn't say, here, figure out if you're amillennialist or premillennialist or preterist, or if you're Trinitarian or Unitarian, or if you're an ist or an ism. Like, the Bible doesn't prescribe all those. Mankind has created all those labels. Now, I understand there's a whole bunch of different understandings, and it helps for us to be able to identify who believes what at this point in history. But for us, it's frustrating to get asked the question because the Bible, we just believe what the Bible says. We call ourselves Torah observant Christians who follow Christ.
This does not. This
I don't know what label you want us to. Why do we need to have a label for you? I guess that would be my question for you, Thunderherd. Why do we need to call ourselves something for you to understand? Or, we don't believe in the Trinity, and we are not Unitarians. So I guess maybe if you understand what Unitarianism is, and then you come and you watch some of Sean's videos about Trinitarianism and why we reject it, you'll see why we're not Unitarian, because Unitarians have philosophy within their beliefs that we don't ascribe to.
And people that step in week after week and continue to insist that we must define ourselves within some sort of box that's already preconceived. Guys, you just fall into Titus 3:10. You just become a contentious person that creates strife and division. And I'm going to put you on mute for 24 hours. Hopefully you can get it together and learn to walk in love. And that way you come back, and hopefully may God open your eyes to realize that all that philosophic presupposition does not affect your faith and doesn't matter to your discipleship. And may you learn what real discipleship is, which is what we try to talk about here all the time. So, yeah. All right. Scotty must have just got here.
It's coming when God decides it's
Oh.
finished.
Yeah. Never mind. I won't say that. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm just sorry. All right, guys. I think we're done.
Yeah, looks like our little creature is stirring in his nest. So
Appreciate you guys sharing your Sabbath with us. Hopefully it's a blessing. Hopefully you're enjoying the Feast of Sukkot right now, Feast of Tabernacles. If you're not, look into it. It's an easy way to disciple, and it's a fun way.
Yeah.
It creates memories with your family and friends, fellow believers. I wish local churches did it. You know how cool that would be? If local
Yeah.
churches practiced Sukkot and everyone wanted to come camp out the church grounds, you know what I mean?
You know, I did a post the other day on Facebook, guys, about the true end times revival in scripture. And that revival is his people waking up and remembering his ways while they're scattered. So let's not lose hope with the churches. There's still plenty of time. This has been spreading. It's been a growing thing, you know. So let's have hope. Let's pray that the churches catch on. You know, let's pray that seeds that are planted get watered and, you know, flower and are fruitful. And, you know, let's have positive vibes towards the churches for once, instead of all this negative, they're lawless, we feel betrayed by them, all that. Let's try to consciously
Walk in love.
move past. Yeah, let's move past the
forgive.
church hurt.
We're going to pray
And-
for them to come to a full
Yeah.
understanding of the truth.
Yeah.
But we're going to also not be in denial of the truth they are following.
Yeah. That would really help us be a bridge to them if we stop just speaking curses over them all the time. If we speak blessings to them and over them, you know, we're much more likely to be heard. That's always been my experience with anyone who I've been friends with online who saw me speaking about the Torah, and they first argued with me about it, but seeds that I planted, and because I didn't condemn them, because I didn't tell them you're a lawless Christian, you're going to the fire if you don't get out of that church, because I didn't take that approach, those people were willing to listen to me. And there's been a lot of them that have eventually come around into Torah. Some people who I didn't even know I had influenced because they never bothered to argue with me on my posts, but I challenged them so much they went and argued with other people in real life and then started to realize, oh yeah, this stuff doesn't fit. So yeah, I mean, maybe if we as a body, as a group, as a community, work on our approach to the churches and how we speak about the churches, even here in our circles, when we're not at the church, we don't have church people here. Like maybe if we are more respectful and speak more blessing about the church, more people will start wanting to show up and hear us out.
It's called a warm audience. It's called a ripe harvest. These are people that are confessing Christ.
Yeah.
They believe in the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. They believe in the idea of changing their life in dedication to Christ Jesus. We cannot just, because they're not understanding the Sabbath yet, or because they don't understand the feasts or the Zizi yet, or something, you can't just throw them away like trash. Like, pray for them. These are brethren that need to be brought up to speed. This is not people that you make an enemy out of. They are not your enemy. All right.
They're your greatest mission field.
It's the easiest mission field. It's called a warm audience.
Yeah.
They already believe what you believe at its core. They just need better details, you know?
Yeah.
Be the Aquila and Priscilla that pulls aside the debating Alexandrian and explains the way of the Messiah better to him. Priscilla and Aquila could have just said, oh, that guy doesn't know all the details we know.
Yeah.
He's not one of us, and just acted all superior and crazy. No. Be patient and loving. Just as you do with the new convert, you can do with a 30 plus seasoned Methodist or Lutheran or Presbyterian or Baptist, right? Just be patient. It's a missions field, right? All right, guys, that's enough. We pray for you. May God bless you. We'll see you next time.
Shabbat shalom, guys. Have a great week.